What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike, and today we are going to go over 5 stocks that you should own during this market crash that we have. And these stocks are going to be the best investments you are going to be making because they are going to be one of your long-term high yield, high powered growth companies, and you know they are definitely not going to go anywhere. They're only going to continue to grow, prosper, and definitely make you even more money. And in this video, we'll go over each individual stock very thoroughly. We'll go over some price points where I think is a great opportunity and price to start adding shares and averaging down, and what you can expect from the future of that company and the outcome, and where do I expect the price of the stock to eventually rise to as well. So with that said, guys, I don't want to waste too much time. Make sure you always smash that like button, hit subscribe. It really helps out my channel and I really do appreciate it. Come check out my Patreon page. Come trade with us, come learn with us, come grow with us, come and see what we have in store for you. So with that said, guys, let's begin. Yeah. All right, guys, number 1 on the list obviously is going to be none other than Apple, ticker symbol AAPL. And this stock is just getting ready to start bottoming out for now. This is a great trade if you want to take it. This would be a great trade even right now because this looks like a nice double bottom just bounced in, and we got a nice bounce coming up. I think we could probably see 150s possible again from here, even if you want to take a short-term trade. But if I were to buy a position for long-term during this market crash, I want Apple below 120. 120 is definitely a high possibility to see Apple go down to. And I think this is a great area to start building your position. Somewhere between 120 to 130, I would recommend starting to slowly add to your position. But I definitely think we can see Apple going back below under 120. Anything under 120 is extremely ideal, and I would start adding right then and there. Once it goes below 120, that is my key potential areas to add to Apple. If we go to tip ranks, we can see that Apple is already pretty much a strong buy. Obviously, it is oversold. We can definitely see Apple going back to the 150s to easy 180s in the future again. And Apple had a nice weekly coming out. The whole week was pretty bullish. Pretty much the whole market has been nice and bullish. And if we see Apple's year-over-year growth and quarterly growth, we can see it is growing in revenue phenomenally. March did have a pullback on the year, but if we look at it at an annual basis, look at that. They are still pulling some great numbers. Year-over-year, their numbers are in the multi-hundred billions, 365 billion just in 2021. We can expect another $300 billion revenue in 2022, obviously, of course. And what's important is their net income, right? $94 billion net. Damn, that is just absolutely insane. Now let's check out their balance sheet, which is nothing more important than knowing a company's balance sheet. If we look at their total revenue, it has been growing tremendously. 18 and 19, not much, just by about $5 billion, but next year they had about a $14 billion growth. And then the year after, almost $100 billion in growth. Of course, a lot of that had to definitely do with a lot of stimulus checks. People were just paying out and using all their stimulus on that. All right, moving on to their balance sheet, we can see their revenue is just growing tremendously. Their debt will probably grow regardless, but their net debt is gonna be easily paid down. Why? Because Apple has one of the best cash flows, cash on hand, right? Look at that. Now in 2021, they had $92 billion just in cash. And now they're sitting at around $105 billion just cash. You think their net debt of about let's say $90 billion is a big deal for this company. No, they can pay all of that down anytime they want. But why would they? You can use the borrowed leverage money they have and make more money with that. So there's no point for them to ever pay down their debt that fast when they borrowing it and making exponential money. And let's move on to stock number 2. Alrighty, guys, stock number 2, of course, is none other than Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT. As we all see, another crazy company that also just had a double bottom right here. That was a great trade to take. If you saw that, if you were on my Patreon group page, I would have showed you the double bottom on this one as well that came in. And Microsoft has just been bullish here, right? Look at that. We got our crazy buy sign right here. That was right here at the 250, triple bottom right here. Boom, 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 right? That was your indicator to buy right here at 250. And you would have been up at least $15 per share right then and there. And we can probably take it all the way to about $275, I think. We have some room, about another $13 movement, less than 13, about another like $7-8 movement we can see Microsoft making before we see a huge resistance, right? If we were going to buy Microsoft, I would suggest waiting. I think we definitely can see Microsoft going back down to right about here in the 220s. If we see Microsoft right here, this is where I would start adding big time, right? Somewhere between 220 to 230 is a great area to start adding and loading up shares. And anything below 20, you can start going much heavier, right? The 190s is definitely ideal, and I definitely do see Microsoft going below 240 again. We are far from this market crash being over. Don't get over optimistic. There is no bottom yet unless the Feds just stop raising rates. They start to actually lower rates. We could probably expect a bottom right then and there, right? When they say, okay, we're not going to raise rates anymore, or we're going to start lowering rates again, don't fight the Feds. Do not fight them. We already know the bottom just set in, and the market will start to go back into bull mode, and we can see a nice rally coming up again, right? And if we look at the forecast on TipRanks, Microsoft worth $352. That's about almost $100 return just right about here, right? It's crazy. And I do think Microsoft will go back to all-time highs, just like Apple will go back to all-time highs again, right? Past 5 days, the whole market's been bullish. Microsoft been bullish. It's doing very well. And if we really look at the financials, which is extremely important, we can see Microsoft is just as good as Apple. They are both multi-trillion-dollar companies, and they will continue to be multi-trillion companies, and they will continue to grow, right? Look at their just rates, right? Cloud software has definitely not even slowed down a fraction of a bit, right? These are companies that will prosper, continue to grow. Now look at the financials and the balance sheet. We can see Microsoft is growing in revenue, gross profit, very important. What they get to keep at the end of the day after their costs is their gross profit, and EBITDA, or however you want to say that, it has been going up, and they have some debt. Of course, only good companies have debt because they use debt to make more money, right? They borrow more to make more money. Now, what's important is Microsoft's cash on hand, right? And they are not as powerful as Apple. They don't have $105 billion sitting on cash. They have half, right? Which is just as good, right? $56 billion. Like, wouldn't you want to have $56 billion? I know I would, but having $56 billion at their disposal, and pretty much actually now it's around $63 billion, is very good. Microsoft is very strong. And if we look at their debt, they can pretty much pay it all down very easy, right? Net debt's 43. They could pay it all off. No sweat, no problem. Now, let's move on to stock number 3. All right, guys, let's begin with stock number 3, and that is, of course, none other than Google, one of the most powerful technological companies out there. They pretty much control so many things. They control Google. We got YouTube. We got WhatsApp. We got so many other things. Sorry, WhatsApp is by Meta, excuse me. Originally Facebook, but Google, one of the most powerfulest cloud companies out there. And look at that. All these three companies I've been talking about and telling you guys have been following triple double bottoms right there, right? All of them formed the same exact bottom. That should have given an obvious indicator for you to buy here if you're going to take a trade. And this was what you wanted to look for, and that is what I would have done it. And I think we have a little room left, right? Do not be fooled by the 20-for-1 split coming up on Google, all right? Do not be fooled for that. That is a desperate move right now during this market crash for all these big tech companies to pull. Amazon, Google are pulling really desperate moves right now to keep their stock up and fooling people thinking it's going to be really cheap, doing a 20-for-1 split. It is not your best interest, right? There is no change in the stock. Yes, the stock slightly pretty much becomes cheaper, thinking it is easier for you to buy some, but you can do that with fractional shares these days, right? Do not be fooled by the desperate temp these companies are doing with their fractionals, with their 20-for-1 splits, all right? It's not in your benefit, all right? It is going to be in your benefit once Google does go down and we see Google going around the 2000s, right? 2000 and below is very ideal. Look at that. We saw 2044. We can definitely see this going below 2044 again. All right, we're only 6 months into 2022. The Feds have barely even begun raising rates yet. I definitely can see Feds raising more rates. We could probably get another 1 to 2% coming just this year. All right, we can definitely see Feds raising rates again this year. So be cautious. Don't jump into it. You could have taken the trade right there. But we definitely see Google going back to 2000 and below. And I'm talking pre-split, right? After this split, it's going to be a different number. I can't give you those numbers yet because I don't want to think about them myself. But right now, if you do see Google back into the 1800s and 1900s, that is a definite buy. You might not see that happening before the split because we are almost entering July, and I think around July 7th is the split date. And do not be fooled by that, all right? Do not be fooled by the price change. It is just a desperate attempt for these companies to get you to buy their stock and keep it elevated, right? If we go check out Google, we can see they think this stock is worth about $3,100. And I think it is possible for Google to get there and go there. But right now, I think we have a lot of time before that happens. So don't be tempted to rush in, all right? Now, let's move on to Google and see that Google has been doing the same pattern of all these tech companies. They're all been moving past 5 days. And Google's another fantastic company that has been growing tremendously year over year. And they are grossing and net profiting very well. 2022, it is going to be very hard for them because they rely heavy on ad revenue. And a lot of these companies have cut back big thanks to Apple's blockage of blocking these companies from watching you and seeing what websites you use and stuff and what you're shopping. Privacy protection, thanks to Apple, these companies are going to take some huge hits on their ad revenue because it is a lot harder to track your websites, right? If you don't give permission to these people, they can't track you, they can't solicitate you, they can't scam you with offers of clothing and stuff that they want to sell you product, right? They fool you like that. Don't be part of the system. Don't get slaved into paying something that you are not going to need or use right away. It is how they make their money. It is how you lose your money, right? Now, moving on to Google's financials, very important. Checking their revenues. It is a beast of a company, right? Look at that. And another insane company that almost made just $100 billion extra in revenue in 2021. I'm really expecting these numbers to be a lot less in 2022 because I can expect ad revenue taking a massive hit, all right? Ad revenue can definitely take a massive hit. Be on the alert for that. Looking on their balance sheet, Google has another one of those powerful, massive balance sheets that you really love, right? And their debt is really almost nothing, right? $28 billion for a multi-trillion dollar corporation like Google. Wow. Well, just look at the cash flow, right? They have a lot of cash flow. $68 billion. That's almost more than Microsoft had. Microsoft had about $65 billion in cash flow. Google has 68, and their debt is like easily pay offable. 28 billion. They can cover their own debt like 2 to 3 times, right? That's how powerful Google is. Their balance sheet is a steal. It is solid, and it is going to continuously to grow and hit new all-time highs once we are back into the bull market. Stock number 4 is none other than Meta Platforms, ticker symbol META. This stock used to be known as Facebook, ticker symbol FB. I know a lot of you probably going to hate this stock, but I don't care. This stock is probably going to give you the best opportunity, probably most returns on your money will probably be Meta Platforms. What? Why? Because virtual reality is the future. You will see that within the next few years. Probably Meta will be the next trillion-dollar company you want to keep your eye on, all right? A lot of you are scared and fearful after you saw this massive drop, but that's because this is a very innovative, future-sighted company, right? They're always making crazy moves that always benefit this company. And one of those were Instagram, right? When they bought out Instagram, when they bought out several other companies, people hated Meta. They hated Facebook back then. They're all like, oh no, this is the end of Facebook. No, Facebook is going to be one of the most powerful companies out there, not just because of their virtual reality, but because advertisement will continue be on the rise. How many of you are right now on Instagram have seen the amount of ads just double the past few months? Because I know it's not me, all right? I used to only get one ad every time I go to the next video. Now I'm getting 2 to 3 different ads playing on when I swipe right on watch the next video. Are you serious? Facebook Meta Platform is just doubling the amount of ads they're throwing at you. Why? Because they are still growing phenomenally. They're growing at an exponential rate still, and they're going to do that. This is pretty much your red card, right? This is the card, your secret weapon card that you are going to take the biggest risk on. This would be your risk company. Out of the 4 companies so far mentioned, this could be your critical company that's going to make it or break it, right? I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to double, and they're going to do very well over the next few years, especially once the market crashes over. Now, let's see where I think it is headed, right? This is the only company that did really bad, actually, the past few weeks. After the market has gone back to being bullish. This is the only company that did not do well, unfortunately, right? They had no double bottom. It continuously went lower and made newer lows. And I do expect them to make more lows, right? I do expect that to happen. And right now, to be honest with you, anything around the 130s and to the 150s is a great buying opportunity. Will Meta Platforms go below 130? It is possible. All right, if you had this company within the last 5 years, you would probably only be up around 3 to 5%. So holding some companies long term is not an ideal thing to do, right? That is really sad to think about. One of the most powerful, biggest corporations for ad revenue and companies out there, and you would hold this for long term and only be up about 3 to 5% on your money from 5 years ago. That is really sad, right? But let's move on. Let's not dwell on the past. Let's check out what Meta Platforms can be worth according to tip ranks. And I think around 250 is fair. Oh, they say 270. So they think 270. I think Meta can go to 270, I guess. But what I think within the next few years, if metaverse does start getting much bigger. I know Apple's doing it and Google's also working on metaverse, but Meta platform is going to be the one pushing it more than the others, just like they are doing it on Instagram, just like they're doing it on their Meta platform, Facebook itself. You could definitely see Meta growing, right? And I really think $400 is a fair price for this stock once we get there and once we see things rolling the ball, right? This is the company, like I told you, is going to be the one that's going to make it or break it for your portfolio. You're either going to double or triple your money from around 150 to about 400, or you're going to go lose some more, which I don't think is going to happen. I think this is your X Factor card. This is your X Factor stock you want to own because it is going to grow tremendously. And I do see $400 a possibility. This will be the one company that will definitely hit 1 trillion market cap in the near future. And I am very bullish on Meta platforms. And let's check out Meta, right? Because if you think this is the end of Meta, you're crazy, right? Last 5 days wasn't so hot. They're pretty much flat on the charts, I would say, right? But looking at their revenue, it has been pretty much very stable, right? It's just gone flat, right? They only grew in 2021 on a more massive, I would say, amount. But they are always pretty flat and stable. If we see 2022 annually flat or at least above to 2022, we can see that Meta platforms is definitely still growing. And if they beat 2021, which I don't think is possible, I don't think a lot of companies will beat their 2021 revenue because we had a lot of stimulus checks coming in and a lot of these companies were spending heavy money. But because of the recession we are definitely in, we are in a recession. Whatever the Fed is telling you, they are lying to you. There's already a bunch of jobs being cut right now. We are in a recession, but it's not something you should be afraid of because we're going to have recessions and we're going to have good markets back again. Don't be afraid. Times are hard right now, but they're going to get better eventually. You just have to be patient, and that's what investing really requires. Patience. You need to be a patient investor. Those who are patient will be rewarded tremendously. If you're not patient, you'll either make nothing, you might lose a lot, or you'll definitely see nothing. You'll be just flat, right? You'll be either flat or you make very little or you'll lose a lot, right? That's what impatient leads to. You need to be a very patient investor sometimes, and this is your X Factor card stock that I am planning on playing. Now, let's move on to their financials, which is very important, right? Their income sheet statements, their balance sheet, their cash on hand. We need to know all of that, right? And I think they're doing pretty good. They're still growing as a company phenomenally. That's how I like it. They didn't grow that much totally, only about 2 billion. They haven't grown a lot, to only about 1 billion in gross profit. I think that's going to be their little bit of an issue because they're focused very heavy on the future of metaverse, and that is why it's not going to grow as fast as the previous few years, right? Because they're going to be spending a lot more money on their future of metaverse. We see everywhere talking about metaverse, right? And you are going to see metaverse continuously talk, all right? We will see a lot of people pretty much living in the metaverse in the next few years. I can see that coming. Now, let's look at their debt. They have a very small debt, right? About $13 billion. That's not a lot for a mega factor, X Factor stock, X Factor company. Their debt is pretty small. And if we check out their cash flow, look at this, $39 billion, right? Their debt is pretty much a no sweat. They can easily pay that off about 2 to 3 times over and over again without any sweat. So they have a lot of money to spend, right? Operating cash flow is nice for them. They're going to continuously make more ad revenue. And this is the X Factor card that I'm talking about. You definitely want to own this company. As I know you all had to be expecting this, and this stock is none other than, for stock number 5, Tesla, my Esla, ticker symbol TSLA, and they have proposed a split as well with this company, and it is going to be another company that is trying to manipulate you to buy, and because they are very afraid, right? They're all afraid their stock is going to go down tremendously, and they are pulling a very what I believe is a desperate move to keep their stock up, and the split is what they're doing. They're hoping the split desperately keeps their stock price up, but we all know if the market's going down, so will the stock. And whatever they try to throw at you, no matter how much they are desperate, it is not going to work. The stock will continuously go down, right? And if you were to have been in my Patreon group, I would have showed you again another double bottom on this stock, and we would have been making a great trade with you guys if you were in the Patreon group, right? And that is another double bottom, and we can see about 790. I think, don't hold me to that, I think 760 to 790 is possible for Tesla. I don't see 800. We definitely will have a pullback again once Jay Powell starts raising rates again. And I don't think Tesla is a buy right now yet. For long term, it is not a buy yet. We definitely will see Tesla going down more. I do not have any buy orders yet. All right. My buy, I believe we'll see Tesla between 450 to 500. I'm very positive Tesla will trade between 450 to 500 again. Right. If it goes below 600, I think it is a great price to add. But really, you should be targeting 550s and below for your main starting price to start adding and going heavy, right? I would not add heavy 600 or below. I think 550 and below is where you should definitely start taking a position and start adding more and more as it goes down, right? That is what I really think Tesla is capable of doing. Going below 500 and reaching somewhere between the 400s. Definitely go heavy as possible if this goes below 400. Pre-split, of course. So I'm talking about pre-split. There is no date announced yet, and people have not voted for the split yet. They did make the decision to announce that they're going to have a 3-for-1 split, but people have to vote for it. And obviously, the vote is definitely going to go through because people want that to happen. They want Tesla to be cheaper and more affordable for more people to buy Tesla, of course, right? And we all want to see that happen. And it is going to happen, right? Now, let's move on to Tesla. And they think it's worth $900. I think the stock in the future is definitely worth another $1,500 to $2,000 eventually, right? 1250 was a huge milestone for Tesla, and they cannot break that. They probably won't be able to break that for a little bit during these next year and a half to two. I think the recession is going to last about a year and a half to 2 years, and it's going to be a tough one, but you all know, be a patient investor, and it will pay off, and Tesla is definitely another X Factor stock, right? It is definitely an X Factor stock I believe in. And if we look at their quarterly, ever since 2020, Tesla has been very, very good. Since 2020, they have been growing exponentially. They pretty much during the past 2 years, they opened 2 gigafactories, very fundamentally in a right place, and they are growing. They will start selling 1 million cars a year. That is their target, and I think it's going to happen by maybe around 2024. I wouldn't expect it any sooner. They definitely need around another 3 to 5 more gigafactories to really push those numbers faster, right? Now let's look at Tesla's financials, right? And they are growing very, very well, right? They nearly doubled from 2020 to 2021. That is insane numbers. 2022 expecting 62 billion in revenue, costs about 45 billion, which is really hot and hard, and 16 billion is their take-home profit, right? And Tesla is invested in crypto, so about 1.5 billion of its dollars in crypto. That kind of really destroyed them ever since it went down, because they started buying crypto at around $30,000, and right now we're trading around 20 to 21,000. And Tesla definitely took a huge hit when that happened, right? Let's look at their cash flow. They don't have the best cash flow. They have about $6 to $7 billion sitting on cash, and they do have a lot of debt, right? They have about Oh, not too bad. I expected more from Tesla, right? Only about 8 billion. So they could almost pay it all down, right? So we definitely know Tesla is definitely another X factor stock. And if you don't believe in Facebook, which I highly recommend, it's going to be your double, triple X factor stock that you should be owning for the next few years after this market crash. But if you don't believe in Tesla, I mean, Meta platforms, Tesla would be your second X factor. Thank you for watching my video. As always, make sure to destroy that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so YouTube could alert you when my next video comes out. Also, guys, feel free to add me on Instagram. I pretty much post there daily. I post some buys there. I post some sell there as well, and many other useful information regarding to the market and the economy and inflation during this time, and to the market crash where you can expect the market to be headed as well. So check us out on Instagram. Come and check out my Patreon page. Come join us. Come trade with us. Come make a difference to your portfolio. I know right now the market is brutal and crucial to your portfolio. Let's take advantage of it and make the best opportunity and the best outcome and the best trades for your position, and we will come out ahead because this market crash will eventually end, and we are going to go back into an extremely crazy, full out blown bull market once again, and the market will not stop growing again. So don't worry, this is just temporary. It is inflationary. It is temporary. We are going down. Transitionary, if you want to be a Jay Powell kind of a thing. But eventually, the market will definitely go back up. We will start soaring. We will start skyrocketing. Stocks will definitely go back into full-on bull mode. We are going to make a good profit once that happens again. So you have to stay strong. You have to stay true to your trading investment, true to yourself. What did you expect from your trade? What did you expect to happen? What do you plan on doing with it? And what do you expect to do before you enter a specific trade and position? And you also have to know how to downsize a trade as well, and all that can be taught in the Patreon page if you like an opportunity with that. Also, guys, do not miss out your chance right now to get 6 free stocks right now from WeBull. All you have to do is sign up using the link in the description box below, and just to make a deposit of just $5, WeBull will give you right now 6 stocks for free just for signing up and using their platform. Do not waste a single second and get your 6 free stocks from WeBull. If you want another free stock, of course, FirstTrade gives out pretty decent stocks here and there as well. And of course, finally, if you want another free stock, we have our old and handy dandy Robinhood. Thanks again for watching my video, and until next time, make money with Mike.